Hey guys, welcome back to 6.4. We are going to go into inverse functions, okay? So let's go back and look at the warm-up and so you can kind of remember how to complete this assignment. That is 6-1. Okay, so you are given the following function and it says f of x is equal to 10x and g of x is x plus 5. So you have two functions. And the question says, what is f of g of 3? So you have a value for x. That x is now a 3, okay? So like before, we're going to work from the inside out. So we're going to start off with g of x, but my x is 3. So I'm going to go to my g function. Wherever I see x, I'm going to put 3. So 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. You see that right there? And now I am replacing g of 3 with 8 for my f functions. So wherever x is, I am now going to substitute 8. So 10 times 8, 10 times 8 is 80. And I cannot make that any smaller. So f of g of 3 is the same as, is equal to 80. All right. Next one, okay. Says, what is g of f of negative 3? So we kind of flip-flop these two, and I got a negative this time. So we're going to start off with the f function. Okay, right there, inside out. Wherever at x, I'm going to put a negative 3. So here's my f function. So 10 times negative 3. Notice I have a parenthesis that tells me multiplication. 10 times negative 3 is negative 30. And since I'm done with that one, I'm going to go to my g. Wherever I see an x, I'm now going to substitute it with my new x. There's my g. So that's negative 30 plus 5, and negative 30 plus 5 is negative 25. So g of f of negative 3 is 25. Just like that, okay? So I hope that helps you a little bit. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. And there you go. Don't forget to submit your warm-up in 6-4. All right. Now do me a favor during lesson. This is just a little reminder. Please put all these things up during the class time, okay? Once I'm done with the lesson, I'm okay with that, but for during the lesson, you need to put that up. All right, so what is our objective for today for 6-4, okay? Today you will be able to find an inverse function. So inverse is like the opposite. So here are your notes. Let me see if I can make it bigger and I will read it to you guys. The inverse of a one-to-one function f written as f to the negative 1 is the set of all ordered pairs of the form yx where xy belongs to f. Since the inverse is formed by interchanging x and y, the domain of f becomes the range of f of negative 1, and the range of f becomes the domain of f of negative 1. Alrighty. Let me reread that again since you guys are filling it out. The inverse of a one-to-one function f written as f of negative 1 is the set of all ordered pairs of the form yx, where xy belongs to f. Since the inverse is formed by interchanging x and y, the domain of f becomes the range of f of negative 1, and the range of f becomes the domain of f of negative 1. So the f of the for inverse of f and f of negative 1, it follows that when you multiply these two, you see how you get x, okay? In the big scheme of things, it's saying when you have y of x, it becomes xy. So if you have xy, it becomes yx. Domain, the input, becomes your output, and the output becomes the input. Flip-flop, inverses. I'm going to keep this here for just a little bit as you are finished writing that out. Alrighty. Okay. So, how do you find an inverse function? So, finding the equation of an inverse, y equals f of x. For a one-to-one function, f defined by an equation, y equals f of x. Find the defining equations of the inverse as follows. So here are the steps. This is what you do. You're going to interchange x and y. So basically, you are going to switch x and y. You're going to solve for y like you have done before. So basically, you are going to isolate y by itself. And then you're going to replace it with f of negative 1. You can also write it as y to the negative 1, and I will accept that. Okay? So let's take a look at our first example. So number 1, step 1, remember switch x and y. Step 2, isolate the y. Step 3, replace it to the negative 1. Okay, so here's example 1. Here we go. F of x is equal to 2x plus y. All right, so let me tell you what I do. I change my f of x to a y, and I rewrite it. Okay? Step number 1. You see where your y and your x is? You're going to switch their places. Just like that. Okay? Step 1. Step number 2. You're going to isolate this y. So in other words, everything's going to stay away from it. So you're going to move everything away like you were solving anything else so you can isolate that y. So minus 5, I'm going to draw my line to separate my left and right. Cancel, x minus 5, not like terms, you cannot combine them. Okay? Solving for y, this is 2 times y. Opposite of multiplying is dividing the whole thing by 2. So that cancel. So now you have y equals x minus 5 divided by 2. You have solved for y. You have isolated y. Add your negative 1. You can write your answers like this, or you can write your answer as f of negative 1 x. These two are the same answer. Okay? And I'm going to show you the same answer for this one as well. Sometimes you may see it written like this. You divide each of these by 2, so you would have 1/2 x minus 5 over 2 to the negative 1. These are equivalent. That means these are exactly the same. And there you have your inverse function. Okay? So make sure you know your opposites. Your turn. Take a moment and try that. Pause the videos at this time. All right, welcome back. Step 1, change my f of x to a y. Okay? Switch your y and your x. Solve for y. Add 4. Add 4. So x plus 4 equals 3y. Notice I keep my equal sign the same. I'm going to divide each of these by 3 this time. Okay? Or you can divide the whole thing by 3. So now you have 1/3 x plus 4/3 equals y. Add your negative 1. Now, if you decide to divide the whole thing by 3, your answer will look like this. Oh, sorry. There you go. You can also write it that as f of negative 1, just like that. Same thing. All right? Okay, let's look at example 2. Here we go. Find the inverse of the function below. F of x, I'm going to change that to y. Switch your x and your y. Okay? Solve for y right here. So minus 2, minus 2. Division should always be your last step anyway. X minus 2 equals y squared. Now I'm solving for y. I still have a square. So what's opposite of a square? A square root. See how that cancels out? So now you have square root of x minus 2 equals y. Did you solve for y? Absolutely, at that negative 1. Notice I took a square root of this whole thing, not just part of it. So the length of this line is very important, because if you stop just right here, only the x is under the square root and not negative 2. And that's very important that you do that correctly. So this length right here is very important. All right, your turn. Pause at this moment, try it on your own, and then I'll come back. You finish? Yeah, just set it aside. All right, f of x, change that to a y. Okay? Switch your x and your y. Solve for y. Minus 2, minus 2, x minus 2 equals y cubed. Okay. Opposite of a cube is a cube root. Do you have to have that 3? Absolutely, and it needs to go between the v. Okay? That cancel, so you have a cube root of x minus 2. Let's make sure my length is long. Equals y, carry your 1. Do you have to write that 3? Absolutely. If you don't, it will be understood to be a 2. There, you're finished. Okay, check your answers. All right, example 3. Okay, this time, watch what I do. Y equals x minus 2 cubed. The whole thing is cubed. Switch your x and your y. All right, work from the outside in. See, I can't add 2 yet because I have a cube. So to get rid of that cube, I take a cube root. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. See that? Only the x is under the cube root this time. Add 2, cancel. So you have a cube root of x plus 2. Notice my plus 2 is outside that line because only the x is under there because I took care of that first. Equals y, carry your negative 1. Okay. You guys tried the next one. Pause. Okay. All right, welcome back. So we're going to switch y equals x minus 2 square. Switch your x and your y. Notice the square comes first, so I'm going to take a square root. Square root, you don't have to write a 2, so you have a square root of x equals y minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. So square root of x plus 2 is equal to y. And there you have 6-4. Okay. All right. You guys have any questions so far? Let me know. Let's go do some of the homework problems real quick, okay? Hang on just a moment. I want to go find some homework problems to kind of help you. All right. Okay, let's see. Let's go to number 21. Okay, here's 21. All right, I'm going to do 21 from your assignment with you. Ready? G of x equals negative 2, x minus 1 cubed. Okay. All right. Change this to a y, negative 2, x minus 1 cubed. Switch your x and your y. I'm actually going to put my hand over that. It seems to show you guys a lot better. Okay, solving for y. You don't take care of the cube first, you get rid of this first. So minus 2, divide by negative 2. Cancel. So you have x divided by negative 2 equals y minus 1 cubed. Okay, now, can't get rid of that first. Remember, we'll work from the outside in. Take a cube root of both. Now the whole thing is being cube root. So you have a cube root of x divided by negative 2 equals y minus 1. Okay. Add 1 to both sides. All right. So you have a cube root of x divided by negative 2 plus 1. Notice my 1 is outside. You guys see that? Equals y. Now add your negative 1. Okay? And there you have 6-4. Number 21. This is number 21. All right, of your assignment. Okay, now I'm going to do a different one because I want to show you something real quick, so give me just a moment. Let me see. Okay, let's go to number 6. Okay? Or let's go to number 5. We're going to do number 5. All right, here you go, number 5. Okay, so number 5, you have this problem. I am going to rewrite it. Notice how they both have a 3 underneath, okay? So it'd be easier if you just rewrite it as 1. Now number 3, this one doesn't have a 3, so you can't do that. So So, but let's look at number 5. All right, so I'm going to rewrite it. F of x equals negative 1x minus 5 over 3. Do you see how I haven't changed anything? I just rewrote it where the 3 is under the whole thing. So I put the top part together, okay? X and y. And you can put a 1 under that, in front of that x, or you don't. It doesn't really matter, okay? There we go. And I like to keep the negative with the top number. That's just me, but which is the numerator. Switch your x and your y. Now notice this time I did not put a 1 in front of it. That's up to you. Solve for y. Now this whole thing is divided by 3. Get rid of that fraction first. Opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So now you have 3x equals negative y minus 5. Okay? I'm going to continue over here because I notice my screen's kind of running out of room. How do you solve for y? Add 5 to both sides. So now you have 3x plus 5 equals negative, and if you put a 1 in front of it, you're more than welcome to. You did not solve for y yet until you divide every one of these by negative 1. And when you do, this becomes 3x minus 5 equals y. See how it's y positive now? Add your negative 1. And by the way, that negative 1, all it's doing right there is telling me that it's an inverse. You're not doing any math. It's a labeling, okay? Alrighty. Let's look at number 6. So there you have number 5. Number 6, I'm just going to get you started, and that's pretty much it. Notice they have an H of n and an n, and if that bothers you, write it as y equals 15 minus 5x over 3. You guys see how I just switched it to x and y? If that will help you, then just do it like that, okay? All right, so you're going to switch, just like that. Solve for y, times 3 in both sides, so it's 3x equals 15 minus 5y. In math, we subtract this one first before we divide, so 3x minus 15 equals negative 5y. Divide each of these by negative 5. You can leave it like this, or you can do each one. It doesn't matter to me. So you got 3x minus 15 divided by negative 5 equals y. Oops, sorry guys. There you go. Okay. But if you had done it differently, what if you had 3x and you divide each of these by 5? Do you see that right there? Then this is the same as 3/5 x. Negative 15 divided by 5 is minus 3. Are these two the same answers? Absolutely. They are the same. Okay? So, oh, I'm so sorry. That should have been negative and negative. This should be a negative, and that changes to a positive. My fault. All right, double check. There you go. Those are exactly the same two answers, and I don't care which one you put. Good luck. The best way to learn 6-4, you have to practice. Bye.